There are few things more American than a good old-fashioned truck. However, in today's day and age, trucks have become more and more less practical. They use a lot of gas, they're huge, and they're expensive. Extremely expensive. Which means that many people who may have traditionally either wanted or needed a new truck are now going to alternative solutions, like buying a car or buying a used truck. And this is bad news for the automakers that have invested more money than ever making American trucks what they are today. Expensive, fully loaded SUVs with a bed, and it's pricing truck buyers out of the new truck market. A recent market outlook report from Dave Cantlin Group and Kaiser Associates, specialists in dealership mergers, they put news outlets into a bit of a tizzy, declaring peak truck as a trend to watch out for in 2025, basically saying that trucks have hit their peak and they're only going to go down from here. And the same group's latest consumer sentiment survey found that the number of people who believe that their next car is going to be a truck or SUV fell by 3%, while the amount of people who believe that their next car is going to be a car like a sedan actually increased by 3%, showing that people are beginning to veer away from these large trucks with even larger price tags and instead are looking for something smaller and more economical. What's also interesting is the correlation and connection of the truck market to the housing market. The truck market has been for many decades tied to the housing market because as contractors get more business and make more money, they buy more and newer trucks. While on the flip side, whenever the housing market softens, this causes contractors to not have as much work, which then causes the truck market to soften. And while the correlation and connection of the housing market to the truck market isn't as strong as it has been in the past, which is believed to be because of the surge in lifestyle truck buyers, which are people that are buying these big, expensive trucks but aren't really using them for truck purposes, and thus these people aren't really contractors that are buying these trucks, there has historically been a correlation, and obviously the housing market isn't exactly on fire right now. And we really began to see this shift from trucks in 2024 sales data, because in 2024, the F-150 declined in sales by 4% and the Chevy Silverado declined by 2%, while compact trucks, on the other hand, like the Ford Maverick, saw a surge in sales in 2024 of a whopping 40%. But the question is, why did automakers go all in on these big, expensive trucks, and what are they going to be doing now that automakers seem to be veering away from them a bit? First, the why. We've talked about this concept a lot on my channel before, specifically in the context of talking about why cheap, economical cars have disappeared, but the reason why automakers have really doubled down on these high-trim, high-optioned, expensive cars, it really comes down to money. Higher trim, optioned-out cars with a high price tag have a much higher margin than cars that are much more basic. And so whenever an automaker sells an expensive car, the amount of profit that that automaker makes off of that one expensive car is significantly more than if they were to sell a cheaper, less optioned out car. And you know what? If you think about it, it makes sense. A car with minimal features, nothing fancy, basic radio, interior, and more comes at a cheap price. But it doesn't make the automaker all that much because you can only sell a basic car for so much, like the Nissan Versa, which sells for around 20 grand. This is one of the cheapest cars on the market today. While cars that are highly optioned, heated seats, nice interior, nice wheels, large interior, sure, these cars are more expensive to produce, but they are also much, much more expensive to buy, making the automaker a nice profit for everyone that they sell. The death of the affordable base model basic car and the rise of expensive, highly optioned out one, it all comes down to money, and it really sucks. But now the question is, what are automakers doing with these expensive trucks now that it looks as though people are starting to reconsider them as a vehicle choice? And the answer is, they're discounting them. Looking at cars.com, it isn't hard to find new trucks that are priced below MSRP, and it's not just the ridiculously priced ones that are selling for a discount, but even the cheaper, more practical ones are seeing price cuts as well. We have trucks like this 2025 Ford F-150 XL that has an MSRP of $64,820, and yet this car is priced at $55,745. And in the last 52 days, this car has had a total of $4,831 in price reductions, which means that for this specific car, this car was priced below MSRP right out of the gate. Not good for Ford or the dealer. We have this brand new Chevy Silverado, a truck that by today's standards is relatively reasonably priced, and yet this car has an MSRP of $45,295, and it's priced at $39,045, well below MSRP. Or this Ram 1500 Bighorn, which has an MSRP of $59,045, and yet this car is priced at about $15,000 below that at $44,905, with this car seeing $3,622 in price reductions in the last 35 days. But by today's standards, these are all just kind of your more basic, run-of-the-mill trucks, and they aren't even close to some of the highly optioned ones that automakers are selling. Because once we get to those trucks, discounts get even worse. Now, the Ford Raptor is one of the most ridiculously priced trucks on the market, but it doesn't look as though they have a ton of discounts. But Ford does have over 1,500 2025 models of the Ford Raptor on dealership lots. So in my opinion, it is not a matter of if the Raptor is going to start getting discounted, it is simply a matter of time, because they are piling up on dealership lots with those nearly six-figure price tags. The King Ranch Edition F-150 is going for anywhere between a couple thousand below MSRP to nearly $10,000 below MSRP, and the same rings true for higher-end Silverados like the Chevy Silverado 3500, which is selling for anywhere between a few thousand off to over 10 grand off. And don't even get me started on Rams, which are in many cases selling for a $15,000 discount off MSRP. Now, I'm not saying that trucks are going to go away, because obviously that isn't the case. I'm not even saying that big trucks are going to go away, because there are a lot of benefits to having a large truck, obviously utility-wise, but there's also a ton of tax benefits for large trucks as well. For these reasons, there will always be a market for these larger XL nice trucks. But there is a clear trend that's happening here, and consumers are beginning to shift away from these particularly expensive trucks that have increased in price astronomically over the last couple of years. And these same consumers are shifting into trucks like the Maverick or the Tacoma, or they're just looking at regular sedans and regular vehicles that have a cheaper price tag. And in the case of the Tacoma, while the truck did have a terrible 2024 due to the transition to the newest generation, they did make up for it this past quarter with an explosion in sales in Q1. Now, the way that I view this is almost borderline karma for the automakers. I think that I can speak for a lot of people who watch my channel that we are all very, very frustrated with the transition from cheap, economical basic cars, or at least cheap economical basic options, into having very literally no cheap options for new cars to buy, and cars just becoming more and more expensive. And while sure, some of this is legitimately due to COVID, there is a large portion of this that is just simply due to corporate greed. Automakers have made trucks far too expensive, and for many consumers, trucks are not a necessity, and as a result, people are not buying them as often. Now, I don't really know what this means and what's going to happen with the truck market long term, but what I do hope ends up happening is I hope automakers end up introducing cheaper models. You look at some of the cheapest cars in today's market, and they are seeing a real uptick in sales. The Nissan Versa, Chevy Trax, Ford Maverick. These cars that are considered to be cheap relative to other cars out there are really starting to thrive, and I hope that other automakers begin to follow suit and offer some cheaper alternatives. People like trucks, but people don't like the price tag that comes along with them. So long term, what this means, your guess is as good as mine. But short term, what this could mean is that if you are a truck buyer, there is a good chance you can get a fat discount on the truck that you're wanting to buy. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.